Hi, my name is Gudrun from GE Designs. Welcome to my live quilting chat, Tipsy Tuesday. Hi, everybody. Thank you for being with us tonight on this beautiful Tuesday night in February 15th. Doesn't matter if you're on Facebook or YouTube, make sure you say hi to everybody in the comments. The more you comment throughout the show, the better chances you can snag one of the gift cards up for grabs. So the more you comment, a random generator will pick one of your comments at the end of the show, and you will win a $25 gift card. Make sure you interact too with some thumbs up and hearts. We love that. Like our page and subscribe, and then of course, if you want to, if you like our video, share it with all your friends. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. You do have another chance to win by answering our giveaway question at the end of the show. So even if you're not watching this show live, you can still answer the question in the comments and get a chance to win a $25 gift card. Now on this show tonight, we are going to our final step of the Jackie quilt along. Yes, we're finishing our quilt, putting it all together. I'm also going to show you a little trick about ripping out seams. If you are sewing long strip sets together, there's a little seam ripping trick to make that happen faster. And then we're going to talk a little more about backing. I think I gotta explain things even better to you to make those choices easier for you. And then of course we got some great fabrics to show you, new in the store. So for our last show last week, I asked you a giveaway question, and it was, what is your breakfast of choice? Now that could of course be what you would love to have every day, but you don't necessarily get to have every day, or maybe it's your go-to breakfast. And randomly chose one of your answers, and our winner is Jolene DeVos, and her breakfast of choice is salmon egg benedict. Now that sounds good. That does sound very good. Congratulations, Jolene. $25 gift card is yours. So just send an email to help@gequiltdesigns.com and we will get that gift card to you right away. Tomorrow, if you send that to us right away. So, all right, we are on the final stretch of the Jackie. I can see already some of you are putting your quilts together. Some of you are waiting for tonight's couple of tips for you. And of course on the set I have my quilt top that I've been piecing alongside you. This is my henna Jackie, made from the henna fabric bundle. And then I have my other one here on the cabinet. So this one is done with a single background, just a crib size, and then I have my lap size on the back with individual block backgrounds. Hanging in the corner is my Lucy, my original Lucy that I made for the cover of the pattern. And that one was made with just assorted chartreuse fabrics and a singular gray woven background. Love this quilt. It's backed with Minky, so it's extra super cuddly. So it lives at our house. Say hi to Mr. HP. He's here.
Hi, everybody.
You've been quiet.
Well,
I've been talking too much.
I have to be quiet because
I talk too much. There he is. There he is.
So chatty, you know.
You know what? It's exciting. It's exciting. There's so much going on. You know, I'm in my happy place. I'm working on my new book, so ideas are flying here and there. We have retreat coming up in less than a month, our first retreat, and we're getting ready to send our boxes out. There's just so much going on. All fun, good, great stuff. So, and I love seeing all your Jackies come together. That's fun.
This room has been cooking. We've been cooking in this room.
We have been cooking, yes. Taping, I mean, trimester 3 of Fast and Furious Club is coming up as well. Everything is just hitting at the same time. So speaking of, let's talk about one little trick I wanted to show you. Yes, this is the trick where, well, this is a task that we all have done if you're a quilter. And that is, of course, ripping out our seams if we sew something wrong, right? And wrong, right? Our sturdy friend, Mr. Jack the Ripper, of course, something that every quilter needs and somebody that needs to be around. We don't like him very much. Well, let's say this. We don't like to use him very much because we don't like to make mistakes very much. However, he's our friend. He is our friend because he is needed. So don't be too hard on Jack. Now, one of those things that I always talked about when I was traveling and teaching and is about your seam ripper. You know how you change the blade on your rotary cutter on a regular basis? You change the needle in your sewing machine on a regular basis because they become dull, both of them. Well, guess what? Your seam ripper becomes dull too. So, and it is key, and it changes everything when you have a sharp seam ripper. So if you're still using the seam ripper that came with your machine, that awful one, yeah, please give yourself a gift and get yourself a nice sharp seam ripper. So here's my little trick. So this little trick works really well if you're sewing together strip sets, which we did a lot of with Jackie. Sewing strip sets together, and a lot of my patterns, we're sewing strip sets together. And of course, it happens that you sew the wrong strips together, you might sew the wrong sides together, and then you have to rip out the whole set. Now, of course, if I was ripping out an intricately pieced block with lots of cross seams and stuff like that, I would pick my seams. But when we're working with long seams like this, here's my trick. So I'm going to use my Clover seam ripper. I love Clover seam ripper because they are sharp, and so I carry this kind. This is the brown handle, and then we also have the thick handle, the white handle. They're pretty much the same product. They're just different in how the handle is and how it is to hold. So that's a personal preference. So let's get on the overhead. So first thing you want to do when you have to rip out this whole thing, I just go right to the bottom. And by the way, if you have to rip out a seam, try to do it before you press it, because it is harder to rip out a seam. Have you noticed this? It's harder to rip out a seam after you press it, because that's when you have compressed all the threads, and it makes it harder to rip. So first thing you want to do, you just want to go in here and rip out the first few to be able to get in there. So now I'm able to get in here, right? So now we're going to use this wonderful red ball that's on your seam ripper. That red ball on your seam ripper, that is what we're going to just place now on the inside, inside here. So it's on the inside, the point is on the outside, right, like this. And then I'm going to just grab my fabric right here. Now here's another pivotal thing I need to do, and now you need to go to the front camera. So I'm not going to just start pushing this way, because I'm going to poke a hole through my fabric with my point here. So I need to stand up for this, because when we do this, we need to move straight down and hold our strip straight down. So I'm going to hold it like this, and I'm going to move my cutter or my ripper straight down. So then I can just go like this and go rip it all the way down like that.
Cool.
Okay? Easy, right? Now I'm going to show you on the table too in the overhead. So you want to move, what I was saying, you want to move straight down. You can also do it with your strip on the table. It's a little bit harder, I feel like, but you just want to make sure that you're moving holding the ripper parallel and moving it straight, because if you end up with a kink, you're going to punch through the fabric. So let's try it here on the table. So stick it in here, and then I'm just going to move straight down, and I can do the same thing. There it is. You guys, get yourself a sharp seam ripper. If your seam ripper's not sharp, do yourself a favor and get yourself a new one. That's my what is it called? PSA of the night. PSA of the night.
Didn't you tell Jack to hit the road, Jack? Don't you come back.
If he is not sharp, hit the road, Jack. Hit the road. Oh, we got you to sing today. That's awesome.
That was just a spontaneous deal.
There it is.
Hit the road, Jack.
So one thing I want to say, if you're using batiks, be really careful. They're thinner, so it is easier to just slice it right through your fabric. But, you know, try it nice and easy first, and then go for it. Practice on some scraps. Sew some strips together and practice. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Once you get a hang of it, the key is to go in the direction of the fabric. So either straight down or really parallel, because if you kink it, you're gonna poke and rip your fabric.
Well, just don't
Make sense?
Don't jack up.
Don't jack up with Jack. Oh, you're just full of puns today.
Don't jack up.
All right, so have we have any questions on this? I'm sure there's gonna be questions. This is, you know, I see some of you use an electric one.
Do you sell
This is even fast. For me, this is faster.
Do we sell the jack?
We sell the jack. We sell both the Clover brown handle and the Clover white handle. And we keep them in stock all the time. So if we happen to sell out tonight because everybody's buying a seam ripper, we'll get more. Don't worry. All right. Yes, go test. If you have a like I have so many rippers because they need to be everywhere. They need to be, I've got them on the set. I got them on the cutting station. I got them everywhere. Because you just, you know. I've got one over by my iron because sometimes you don't realize you did something wrong until you're there. So I like it to be there too. It's everywhere. So check all your rippers because you probably have a couple that, you know, are older and maybe not as sharp.
Did you jack up on Jackie?
Yes, I did. I had to rip. I had to rip a little bit on Jackie, but just one. You know what? You all I think have noticed what is the easiest to when you're putting the blocks together, and that was turning the two jack strips so they're coming out of the middle. So I saw a lot of folks that had just accidentally turned that one, and I think I did that once. And I had to use jack. All right. Okay. Jumping Jack Flash. Cheryl's husband is singing that song.
That's a great one.
Well, we can always do jumping jacks too if we're ripping out a lot. You know, do some jumping jacks in between. All right. No more questions. Good. That's good.
It's great tips.
I mean, that's an old tip. I used to always use this tip whenever I was teaching anything where we were sewing strip sets, because there was always one person in class, or 3 or 15, that would sew the wrong side or something like that. But you know what I used to do when I was teaching classes? That was always my job. If anybody needed a rip, that was me. So I always traveled with my own ripper because I couldn't trust everybody to have a sharp ripper. So I would rip for people all throughout teaching class. Yes?
Can it be sharpened?
I'm not sure. I've never tried it. It's so tiny, and honestly, they're not that expensive. I don't know. That would be kind of hard to get in there. Maybe maybe with like a embry board or something. Give it a shot. All right. Let's move on. Let's move on to our Jackie, our quilt along, our final assembly. So I pre-recorded this short video. So let's check out our Jackie part 4, the finishing. Hi, my name is Gudrun from GE Designs, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to finish the Jackie quilt. At this point, you should have all of your Jackie blocks done, whether you are working with a single background or doing individual block backgrounds. And now we're going to finish it off by starting at step 8 and then throughout it all. So now it's time to lay out our blocks. What you want to do with a Jackie quilt is we're going to rotate every other block. So I have my 6 blocks here for the crib size. So what you want to make sure is if I'm doing a row here, I'm doing, this is horizontal. I'm just putting them this way on the screen so you can see. So one block will have the long strip going horizontal, and then the next one vertical, and then the next one would be horizontal again. So this way you get a lot more movement in the quilt. You will see the blocks kind of dancing around. So then the next row would be also opposite. So you would have the strip going vertical here versus horizontal. So we lay them out all like this. Another good kind of an extra bonus by laying blocks out this way is that once you line the blocks up, there's nothing that is going to look like it should match up. For example, if you did this, you would always look at this line throughout the whole quilt and then notice if these weren't perfectly lined up. So this is the way to go for many different reasons. So look at my little crib quilt all laid out on the design wall. You'll see that in this photo we're going to put on the screen. So there it is. I like this layout. So now I would just sew the blocks together, whether do it horizontally or vertically. Since it's just 2 rows vertically, I'd probably just sew them together that way. It would just take a little less time. Once you have that done, if you're doing a single background, you want to add borders. So you should have border strips of the same background fabric to border around the whole quilt. And this is just really to add a little bit of buffer and kind of set this a little extra float around the whole quilt, making it a little bit bigger. So I usually, when I'm doing borders, start with the long sides and then I do the short side. So you should be okay with the crib size going 1 strip on each side and you should be good to go. Now, if you were doing the individual background, Jackie, there is not a border included because each block is going to have a different background. So that is the difference. You can of course add a border. Then I would just choose a totally different color to add a border or do a scrappy border or something. But I chose not to add a border to mine. So let's look at my individual block background Jackie blocks. This is how I laid them out first. So mine is very colorful. Each block has a different color. And this was the first way I laid it out. So I took kind of the blue, the cool colors, and set them in one pile, and then the warm colors in another, and then I alternated it. And it wasn't doing for me what I wanted it to do. So one thing I always try and do when I'm laying out scrappy blocks is separate the colors. So that I thought this would be the key. But I didn't like it because some of them have a dark value, and some of the darks, the blues have a really dark purple, and then others have a really light turquoise. So I wanted to try something else. So I tried this other layout where you can see I'm still alternating the direction of the block, but then I just put the darkest block in the top corner, and then I wound my way with all the cool colors merging into the warmer colors, and then the warm is in the bottom corner. And this I like much better because it just has a more harmonious feel to me. So you can play with that, of course. I love to lay my blocks out and take a photo, and then you can really see those individual details. Of course, these blocks look a lot different when they're up close because they are really, really colorful. So let me show you how those blocks look. So here are some of those blocks. As you can see, they're really bright colors. I really love how they turned out, but everything just looks so different when you put it up on a design wall, you step away and look at it from a distance. So I always encourage you to do that. And if you have a smartphone or an iPad, take a photo, look at it at a smaller scale, and then decide on your layout. So that's it for our Jackie quilt. I hope you enjoyed following along through all those steps, and your quilt is going to be turning out gorgeous. Thank you for watching. So there it is, finishing of the Jackie. I got mine 2 together actually, and then I did the table runner. So the table runner is at the warehouse. It was going on Gertie, so I didn't want to stop that process. So it's being quilted. But so these 3 are in addition to the other 4 already made. So I started with, of course, the original, the Jackie with one background that is in the book. That one is pictures in the book. Then we made the one out of Daydreamer, where I wanted to try it with different block backgrounds and a single fabric for the jacks. Then I wanted to try it with a light and dark alternating and 2 different fabrics for the jacks. Love that. And then I wanted to try it even scrappier with different block backgrounds and different colored jacks, or different fabrics in the jacks. So love all the versions. It was fun, wasn't it? So yeah, with all of that, please, when you get your quilt together, you of course don't have to rush. Make sure you post it on Gudrun's Quilt Crew or email us a picture. We are gathering photos for a big old slideshow that we will present probably next Tuesday if you get your quilts together, and then we'll do another one later, like a month from now or something, because it's always fun to see. Give yourselves time to finish up. You can just take a picture of your top, and we'll do a slideshow with the tops, and then possibly when they're all finished later. Love to see them. Okay, let's answer any questions you had on the video or anything. Do you have any questions for me? Yes, so the Jackie videos, if you did not purchase the extended pattern, all these videos are going to be in your account. This 4th one will be in your account after the show, and then so you can check it all out tomorrow. They'll all be there. Now, if you did not purchase the extended patterns, you can just go to the Tipsy Tuesday kind of log on our Facebook. You go to videos, go to Tipsy Tuesday, and it lists all the Tipsy Tuesdays with the topics, so you can go there and find the Tipsy Tuesday and get right in there. They're always going to be available. All right, can you get the Jackie video? Oh, that's the same question. Same question. Do you sew your border strips together on the angle or straight edge to edge? So this is a good question, great question, because it varies. You know, sometimes it depends on the print. It depends on the print that you're working with. That I'm working with, because sometimes the print doesn't really matter if you just do a straight seam. Like if it's a more solid or tone on tone, you can just do a straight seam. It really doesn't matter. Sometimes in those cases a diagonal seam is more noticeable, and then I just do a straight seam because I can save fabric that way. If the pattern is if it's heavily patterned, it's a floral or something, then I will do a diagonal because that will kind of hide the seam if it's really a heavy print. So it will depend. It will depend on pretty much on the fabrics I choose, and you can always test it. So lay your strips together straight and see how that seam looks, and then you can try and just fold it on an angle and see how that looks and decide if it's better. Usually if the borders are just tiny, like on Jackie, they're just 2.5 inches, it really does not need a diagonal border, so sewn diagonal seam. So I will usually just do it straight. What design did you use for quilting the Jackie? So they were all different. So the Daydreamer one is a quilting pattern that was designed for us, and we will have all the links in the Jackie blog. So I just don't have the information. I forgot to write all of that down. So we will put all of that in the blog, the different quilting designs that I did on the Jackies that I've done. And then I have to figure out what I'm using on this one and this one. I'm thinking for this one will be something with outer space theme, like maybe planets or something, since the pattern is kind of that way, or the fabric, the background fabric. If you wanted to do one background fabric in a queen, can you use a wide back fabric? Yes, absolutely. If of course that size is under 108 by 108. So our 108s are 108 by 108 cut. Were you going to show us what you did with the leftovers? Nope, they are just still sitting here. But I'm going to talk about them when I talk about backings. I'm going to talk about backings. So what did you do with your bonus blocks? You talked about integrating into the background. You probably mean the backing. So that's I did not get any bonus blocks, but I got leftovers, so I'll show you some ideas. I usually, with leftovers like this, I'll make a strip, you know, for through the middle of the back, either this way or this way, depending on how many leftovers I have. But have you considered putting the timestamps in the YouTube video so we can skip to the relevant parts? Not really. We have so many shows, and skipping topics is something we do regularly on the show. So it's not pre-decided what I talk about next or how much time it takes.
A lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah. I have not done that. No. All right. Would you do that? Is that hard to do? I don't know.
I can do anything.
I don't know.
It's time consuming.
It is. All right. So I wanted to talk about one thing before I talked about backing. I'm going to talk about the backing for the Jackie. And that is, of course, today is the 15th. So those of you doing our Christmas in Europe mystery block of the month, you guys got a new block this morning, didn't you? And I've actually seen some of you already finished it. Yes, it's a pretty quick one. So this is a perfect month to make some sugar plum fairies alongside it. So here it is. Here is our block. So this one is called the Yule log. So the history behind this one is there has been a custom, or was a custom, of burning a Yule log. It goes way back to medieval times and even before. So it was originally a Nordic tradition for the winter solstice to bring a log into the home and placing the large end inside the fireplace. And then you burn one end, and then it kind of moves throughout, and this would feed a fire that would last throughout the 12 days of Christmas. So the traditions, of course, regarding the log vary a little bit between the countries, but it's still very present in many parts of the UK, and in particular in France. Even in France, they have a version of the Yule log called a bûche de Noël, which is a dessert. A Yule log kind of roll up like a cake roll. And so, very popular Christmas dessert. I have not made one yet, but I've seen them, and they look gorgeous. We've seen them everywhere.
They're kind of like a ding-dong. Chocolate with the cream inside?
Yeah, but it's thick, so it's like rolled with a cream,
Right.
or some kind of a pastry cream or something. So they're very traditionally always eaten on Christmas in France and Belgium. So we're calling this block a visit to France and possibly a little bit to Belgium at the same time. So Yule log, yes, yes. Nothing like a fire over the holidays, isn't it? Unless you live somewhere where it's really warm. Maybe not. All right, so any questions on the Christmas in Europe? Do you see any questions? I think you're not paying attention right now.
I am. Like a jelly roll.
Okay, all right. So, I don't think so. I think we're good. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about backing again. I have told you, I think it was last week, we talked about, and I showed you my cheat sheets for backing, how you can, figure out your backing yardage the most economical way. We have a whole video on it that you can find on our YouTube, and it's linked on our website too, under tutorials, videos, and tutorials. So, and these are printables that you can print with all the different, kind of theories of how I figure out the backings. But I wanted to dive in a little bit deeper and just kind of give you an example of what I'm talking about. So, let's figure out my backing for my Jackie. So here's the Jackie, and here is the size. So the size is 56 by 70, and that means that I need to have my quilt a little bit bigger, or my quilt back bigger. So you want to give your long armor at least 6 inches extra. So that means my back needs to be at least 62 inches by 76. Now, here is the little trick, because I talk about 1.5 widths or 1.5 lengths or 2 widths, 2 lengths, all kinds of things with the backings. So let me give you a little, cheat sheet on that. What I mean by that, if I'm saying you cut 1.5 widths, that means always the width of your backing. So in this case, to figure out if I should go widths or lengths, I'm looking at this number, and here's my guide. So if we're talking about a half width of fabric, to make the math easier, so this is width of fabric, so don't get that confused with the width of the backing. Width of fabric, a half width is 20 inches. 1 full is 40. So I always just go round it down, because then I know I have extra fabric for the seams, and if the selvages are really wide or whatever, I don't have to worry. So I go by this. 1.5 would be 60, and then 2 would be 80, 2.5 would be 100, and then 3, that's 120. Usually we don't have to go over 120 when we're figuring backings. So this is usually my guide. So then I check first. 62 is the width. So 60 is going to be too small, but 80 is good for 76. So that means 80 inches is two full widths of fabric. So 76 is the length of the quilt, right? Is the length of the quilt. So that means that 80 would be enough. 2 widths. 2 widths of fabric would be enough to reach the 76. Are you seeing what I'm saying? Because now with 2 widths of fabric, this would be 80, right? So that's what I go by. So now I just do, take the 62, that's the width of the backing that I need. So I just do 2 times 62 inches. That gives me 124 inches. Turn that into yards. That's 3.5 yards. Make sense? So this little cheat sheet is actually helpful to figure out this way. So if, of course, let's say this was, of course, let's say it was 96, just for fun, 96. So then I would look for, I would have to go here. So 100 would cover the 96. So that means 2.5. So that's 1 width, 2 widths, and then a half width added, the half width. Then I would just do 62 times 2.5. And then I would do 1 width, 2 widths, and then the half width would just, I would take the half width of fabric, cut it on the fold, and sew 1 seam here. So it'll be 1 seam here, and then 1 seam across here. Still, all the grains would be the same. I know this is maybe a little crazy to look at, but I think it makes sense if you slow down. Slow down. Yes, you want me to slow down, I'm sure.
Do it again real slow.
Do it again real slow. Now what I wanted to do too is, okay, so let's look at this lap size, because that's what's confusing with the half. You see the diagrams here, I'm doing a 1.5 length, and the seam is this way, and then 1.5 width, and the seam is this way. And so here's how we would do that. So let's say that this quilt is, let's say I need 58 by 40, right? 40 inches by 58. So that means I need to get 1.5 widths. So that means 40 times 1.5, that's 60 inches, right? So 60 inches, approximately 2 yards. It's a little bit less than 2 yards. So here I have my fabric bolt. Let's pretend this is bolted fabric. It's folded in half. So this is off the bolt. So I'm just going to cut my 2 yards, just so I can explain this to you. Approximately 2 yards. So I have my fabric that I bought, my 2 yards of fabric, and it's on the fold, right? So one width, I'm going to cut off 40 inches first. So that'll be my approximately this. So this will cover that top part, right? And then what I have left, I'm going to cut that on the fold. And then I'm going to sew these two sides together. And then I'm going to sew them to the bottom. Does this make sense? Does this explain it a little bit better? I hope so. All right, let me just give you another example. So what I am going to be doing with my Jackie. Now, I have my Jackie back. And I know I'm going to need 2 widths if I was buying yardage. But I want to use some leftovers, right? I want to use some leftovers. So I have, from the bundle that I used, I have 4 half yards. 4 full width half yards that I would love to piece. And so they are, of course, 18 by 40. So 40 is, of course, this length here. And I know 18 times 4, that's, you know, about 2 yards, which is 72 inches. Take a little seam allowance, so I know this is going to cover the 62 for sure. So I could use these 4 here. So these are my 4 half yards from the bundle. Now then I could use one fabric up here, or I could play with putting all my little leftovers together, maybe make a strip across here with all this fun piecing. And then I could probably get away with just a half width here. Probably get this big enough so it's as a half width here. So then I only need to measure from here to here, which is half of the 62, which is 31 inches. Cut it on the fold and have one seam go in here. Does that make sense? Nope, it doesn't. I'm talking too fast. I know my brain goes a little bit faster than most people's.
People say, yeah.
Yeah, so these leftover scrappy piece things are wonderful when, because normally when I'm doing, you know, bed size quilts, you're dealing with something that's, you know, around 90 inches if you're doing twin sizes and full sizes. So, you know, 2 widths is not enough, but you only need a little bit more. Maybe you just need 10 inches or just a little bit more. And then it's just perfect to use these leftovers, piece a strip, put your little label in the middle of it, and then you can just buy 2 widths instead of having to go 2.5. You know what I mean? So I am going to see how I can utilize this. Now, what I piece, I just start improvising and just start sewing stuff together, and then I trim it. I mean, I do not think about this too hard because it's going to be on the back. It's going to be wild and scrappy, and so I don't even, with stuff like this, I don't think about it. Now, if I have leftover blocks from a project, which normally happens when I'm designing something new because I don't know what it's going to end up being. It's actually going on right now. I have a new quilt on the design wall, and I have a stack of leftover units. So I'm just going to piece them together because they're going to be either a part of the back, or maybe I can make a little bonus something, but that's just what happens. So let's take a few questions if you have any on all this scribble stuff that I did for you. Or you can just look at the pattern and see how much yardage you need for the backing. Do the extra seams cause any issues for a long arm quilter in the backing? You know, it has not caused any issues for me or the quilters that I have used. Always ask your quilters, though, if they are okay with pieced backs. I think most of them are. And they know how to load it in a way that it's not going to be a lot. You know, sometimes it's hard if you have a huge king size quilt and you have a seam going this way and you need to load it that way because it the seam gets a little thicker, but then you could load it the other way sometimes. So just talk to your long armor. Maybe if I was doing a huge king size quilt, I would just go ahead and get myself a wide back. That's just easy. But for my little quilts, for quilts that I quilt myself, I mean, I love to piece them. For my runners and stuff, piece, piece, piece. Just use what you got, because, you know, it just makes us be able to quilt some more. So, love that. Can you show some of your back someday? Yes, I actually, I think I did in this backing video, I showed a few of my piece backs. But I'll dig out some fun ones. I don't know if there's a piece one over there. Can you check that one that's on top? The Sire quilt? I think that has a piece back. The Christmas one? The Christmas one that's laying over there. I'm just looking at it. So I just wanted to see if there's a... Yeah. So do you press your back seams open or to one side? So if I'm doing a lot of piecing, like with scraps, I press them to one side because I don't want any of those to pop. If it's just one seam, I tend to trim my seam allowance a little bit larger than a 1/4 inch and I press it open. But it's either way. But I always secure it on the ends. You always want to stay stitched, you know, across the seam on the ends of your back to help your long armor out. No, this is actually not a piece back, of course. Batting? My preference is a light poly batting. I use Bozal. I've used, okay, now I'm blanking on the brand, but Bozal is my go-to. That's what I get for on big rolls to use for my quilts. I prefer light poly because I love the way it shows off the quilting. The quilts are really lightweight, which is great for me because I make so many and I travel with them, and then they always stay folded so the poly doesn't hold the creases. It doesn't have memory like the cotton does. But that's just my personal preference. What do you do with the trimmed off bits of backing after everything is quilted and trimmed? You know, sometimes if it's just a little bit, I can cut them into strips and put them in my strip bins. If it's like a wider piece, you know, and really long, I actually save them because sometimes when I'm piecing another back, I need a long strip about 6, 7, 8 inches, and I save that and I use that. So reuse, reuse. So I have a little bin of backing scraps if they are long enough or kind of odd sized. So love that. Stay stitch. So stay stitch, yes, usually when I talk about a stay stitch, if you have a quilt top that, you know, doesn't have borders, so it has a lot of seams coming out to the end, you want to do a stay stitch just 1/8 of an inch around your whole quilt top before you send it to the long armor. And so I do that if you have one seam on your backing, you just have to do an inch seam right over that seam on the ends, just to, you know, prevent it from popping open on the ends. Because you know that quilt is going to be stretched on the frame, so it can happen. So it's just really easy to do and fast. If you have a border on your quilt, I would only do it where the seams come out to the ends. So just across where the seams come out to the ends. Because if it's just a trimmed, obviously cut borders, then it doesn't matter. All right. Oh yeah. I have not, I did one myself on Gertie, and I need to just study a little bit more. It was just a baby quilt, so it was okay, but I need to study a little bit more because I know you need to, you know, watch out how you load it and not stretch it that much, but I just want to play with it and before I start giving you any tips, because I got no tips for that yet. No tips for that yet. All right. I purchased it from our distributor, so I would just check. We don't carry batting yet. We just don't have the room, but definitely something we have on our list to be able to carry Bozal. We do carry the Bozal for the fusible, single-sided fusible that we use for the Quilt As You Go projects. All right. Lots of comments, but any questions? Okay, great. Awesome. I think we're ready to move on to our fabrics, and I have a lot to show you. only 2 bundles in real life, but we have a whole new batch of pre-orders that we just put up. So I wanted to swoosh through them really quickly, and especially very excited to tell you about a new policy regarding our pre-orders. So now when you pre-order a bundle, because we have you pay it in full, now when you pre-order a bundle, you get a little price break. So you get a little discount on the bundle when you pre-order. So once we have the fabric in stock, it will go back up to its full price. So all of these have, so this is just starting now. We unfortunately cannot go backwards, but starting from the ones we listed today, this will be our policy with pre-orders. Just give you a little bit incentive for ordering early. All right, so let's check these out. There's some exciting things coming. Now make sure when you click on a pre-order, make sure you note estimated ship date or anticipated. We're saying anticipated because that's the information we get. As we all know, going through this past couple of years, there's no counting on that. There's no counting on that. So we say anticipated ship date. If we get any updates, we always keep updating that. So make sure you check that out. If you place an order for a pre-order, we prefer it to be individual unless it's a line that is shipping the same month as the one, if you're doing 2 different pre-orders, if they both ship the same month, then it's okay to order them together to save on shipping. Otherwise, you won't get your first bundle until the second one comes in stock. All right, let's check them out. So this one is Century Prints. It's called Deco Glow. This is an Andover by Juicy Juice. I love these bright colors, very geometric prints, and just kind of really bright and sparkly. Great basics. So this is a 12-piece bundle. Then we have Chickadee. This is by Create Joy Project for Moda, and of course Create Joy has been a popular designer for us. We love Moody Bloom, Sunshine Soul, all of those beautiful lines with those kind of like watercolor technique artwork. Love it. Then we have colorways. These are 2 lines by Stoff Fabrics. Stoff is a Danish fabric company, and I love these. These are just kind of textures, and so I created 2 different colorways for the bundles. This one is the fuchsia and the blue, almost teal. So how cool is this to do a quilt that's just a 2-color but with different textures and prints? And then the other colorway is orange, or I would say gold, more so yellow gold, and then gray. So these are the 2. They're called colorways by Stoff. Then we have Elixir by Melody Miller for Moda. So this is Ruby Star. I love this. I love these colors together. Just these beautiful kind of rosy pink with the kind of greenish teal and the darker hue of it. Just beautiful. So a smaller bundle, just a 10-piece. Then we have Decorum. This is a basic gray. Oh, just love this line. These colors are coming in strong. I know they've been around, years ago, but those dusty blues and browns and golds, and I've already made a couple of quilts out of these for my new book, and it's awesome. I can't wait to show you. Then we have Flower Pot by Lella Boutique. Again, you see these blues and brownish hues coming in. These taupes are great with it. So typical prints in a Lella Boutique style, but a very fresh, different type of colorway. And then we have Frisky by Zen Chic for Moda. And this one is super fun. Very colorful. I love the colors and the prints, and I have already made a couple of quilts out of this. Can't wait to show you. Then we have a burst of color. This is Impressions by Melissa Collins for Wyndham. Love this. This is just beautiful. Great textures. They mix with a lot of different things and give your quilt a lot of movement. Then we have Koi Pond. This is another Ruby Star line, and I picked colors to really balance it out with those golds, navy, and teal aqua. And just little cute koi fish, but otherwise really great prints that could kind of work with anything. Then we have Merry Christmas, a very classic Christmas line by Andover, or actually by Macauer UK. So very European style Christmas, similar to Santa Express, and so that we had last year. Then we have a Sweetfire Road line called Midnight in the Garden. I love this. I love this one. These really soft pinks with some deep dark navies. And then this gold mustard color that's just really in these days. Then we have Old Fashioned Christmas by My Mind's Eye. This is a Riley Blake line. I fell in love with that artwork. I remember, you know, cutting out little paper things and making Christmas cards back when I was a kid, and those Santas on there just remind me of that. It look exactly like it. Then we have an ombre line. This is V & Co for Moda. It's called Ombre Galaxy. So our ombre bundles have always been really popular. So this one has those 12 different colors. They look kind of small because so you can see the whole ombre effect on the fabric. So the half yard will look kind of like this, dark to light to dark, edge to edge, selvage to selvage. Then we have Piccadilly by Amanda Castor. So we have a little red, white, and blue. Freshness in this one. I love the scale of the prints, and kind of more usable than many other patriotic lines. So this one is kind of cool for many other countries than just the US and A, like Iceland, because we have the same colors in our flag. All right, then we have a popular one. This is Scandi 2022 by Macauer UK. This one is a 14-piece line because I couldn't leave 2 of them out. Love them. And then we will have some 1-yards and stuff to go with it. But this one flies out every single year. So we cannot keep it in stock. So pre-ordering this one is a good idea. Couple more here. We have Soar by Deborah Edwards and Melanie Samra from Northcott. Their lines are always a hit with our customers. I love their textures and their artwork. So this one has a little bit of fauna inspiration. And then the last but not least, we have Winter Wonder by Heather Peterson, Riley Blake line. I love the freshness of these colors, even though it's Christmas line with that teal in there or that aqua, beautiful grays. Just really nice and fresh. Makes everything pop. All right, that is all of our new pre-orders. We are constantly adding them, so you'll be able to see a lot more of these. And check it out if you like to plan ahead. All right, so we have a couple of new bundles in the house. This one is called Silent Sports, and it is a great one, because it's representing sports that don't always get recognized. Silent sports. So we're talking about cycling. This is a cycling print. So we have cycling and hiking. Here's a map. So these deep navy teals. We have your hiking gear, your backpack, water bottle, binoculars, and all these things. We have, this one has bicyclist, kind of mountain biking, and then we have kayaking. So we have the oars on this teal background, and of course need some hiking sticks. I love how this print has been, it kind of looks like a plaid or like a like a herringbone or whatever, and it's hiking sticks. And then we have kind of this all over with a few words in it. Oh, I got a short one. So this one has hiking and the bicycles and the kayaking all in one. We have the kayaks. and a landscape. I just love these fresh colors. Very kind of masculine, but still fresh. We have another bicycle print in the green. And then I love this one too. Carabiners in all the different colors. And then we have another matte print with, these are kind of the trails, different. So all the prints are different, so there's no repeats. I kind of love that. Just gives it so much fun variety. And then the last one is the tracks, the hiking tracks. Silent Sports. Isn't this fun? So really cool colorway. It's getting kind of dark over here. So let me show you my fabric pool. So I started with just a couple of dark ones, but there is a lot of that dark navy and teal, but I did a Bumbleberries basic indigo. Kind of goes with all of them because it has so many different hues. And then another one more teal in the Thatched Marine, going with some of the teal hues in here. Since there's only one full on plum print, although there's plum everywhere in the prints, I did two here, grunge and the plum, and then the dimples and the dark orchid, a little bit lighter, brighter. And then for the light blues, I love this one, the Whimsy with all the little stems. And we have the greens. Even though it looks kind of bright, when I started looking with it, I love this gentle green, Bumbleberries, and then the deco stitch in the subtle sage. So kind of tones much better than to go brighter. And then I just did some grays because we have this dark gray print here. I love the Jack's Peat with it because it kind of got little tracks too. And then in between, the spotted celestial and the aluminum, because it has that lighter gray, and then it has a little bit of dark in it. And then I threw in one more lighter one, Canvas Pebble, because these kind of bridge between these two. So I love that one. If you wanted a background to match kind of the tone of the carabiners, I love having a little print in it. So the 20 in the Gridded Seeds has a little bit of green in here, so I love that. And then also this one, the modern backgrounds in the washi tape white. So perfect match here. And then it has the gray to tie in. And I just feel like this is kind of like tracks, whether it's bicycle tracks or anything like that. So it just kind of worked really well with the rest of them. One stripe I found that could work really well, the diagonal stripe teal. This is Rhythm and Harmony from that line, but it would work perfectly with these prints. So yes, Silent Sports. This is Silent Sports. I mean, there are more silent sports, aren't there, other than hiking, biking, and kayaking? Can you think of any? Like chess? Like chess?
Just diving.
Well, there's a splash in diving, I guess. Swimming, usually it's not very loud if you're just swimming, but if people are screaming at you, probably. Yeah. All right, the other bundle is a very unique one from one of our favorite companies, Lewis and Irene. This one is called Little Matryoshka. So very influenced by the nesting dolls, the Matryoshka dolls. So beautiful, kind of a Russian influenced, I would say, print. Love the colors, and of course the dolls. So we have 15 prints in this line. We have we're starting with the darkest here on the black background, so beautiful pink. On the black we have the hearts, so very typical designs. And then I love this print, so very all over, you know, very whimsical, but very reminiscent of that Russian style art, and the beautiful painted wood dolls too. Then we have this kind of burgundy-ish color in the red with the dolls, and then that same print here on that same darker red background. Isn't that beautiful? And I love just the specks of green and teal in there. Then we have a little bit brighter red coming through with the hearts, and then the floral with the vines. Little pop of pink, the small floral and polka dot, and we also have it in yellow. So yellow with that same print. Here you can see that all over print on a light background, on the cream background. So pretty. And we have the dolls also on the cream background. And the small print with the small floral with the vines. And then we have two blues. So we have the kind of the aqua flower, small flower, and then a bright blue tying in with all of the colors in the dolls. So little Matryoshka, and that is our whole bundle, 15 piece. I did a kind of a smaller pull just because there's so many colors in here, and so I just wanted to kind of bring in the supportive roles. So there's lots of the blacks, lots of the reds, and then we have the creams, but then we have just one of each of these colors. So I did pull another one, and of course the bumbleberries are designed to work with all of the Lewis and Irene lines. So the bumbleberries in the Tropics blue is a perfect match to this one, and then we have the strong blue is a perfect match to this blue. We have sunshine yellow, perfect match here, and then cottage rose for the pink. So these are great perfect matches. And then I pulled in some other things to support these red colors. For the darker one, the spotted garnet is a great match, and then dot matrix cherry for this brighter, more orangey red. And so this is one of our brand new lines. Loved being able to pull that in here. So then for the blacks and the lights, of course, bumbleberries in the cream can work here. I also love this one, Lyricist, in the Diary White, because it has a little bit of that taupe in here, which plays on the vines in that print. And then bumbleberries in the black, because it has all the hues of the black. And then I loved this print as well, the diagonal plaid in the nocturnal night color, because it has a little bit of plaid too if you wanted to add a plaid, but it has that white tying it in together. So such a cute line, and just something very unique, not always represented with this Russian influence, I feel like. Love, love, love it. So cute. Now, I remember having those Nesta dolls. My grandparents traveled all over the world when I was a child, and they always came home with amazing gifts. So I had a couple of those. I have no idea where they ended up, but they did go to Russia all over, and that's where I got mine. So hopefully they are somewhere. All right, are you ready with our live winner tonight? Oh, there it is. Millie Fessler. Congratulations, Millie. You won a $25 gift card just for watching us live and commenting. So send an email to help@gequiltdesigns.com and we will get you your gift card for you to go shopping. But that is our show for the night. It'll be a long night for me. We have a lecture going on actually after this for a quilt guild over in Washington State. But I want to finish it up with a giveaway question that you can still answer and win another gift card, which will be announced next show. Here's my question. Do you have a furry sewing friend? That means a pet. Of course I have one. He was sleeping here earlier. He's over there. Yeah. Kobe is always a pal with me in my sewing room. So let us know in the comments and we'll randomly pick a winner. and announce it on next Tuesday's show, which is February 22nd at 7 p.m. Central. But we will see you this coming Friday. Will be February 18th for our Happy Friday show at 3 p.m. Central. Thank you, everybody, for watching us tonight. We'll see you next time. Bye.